Who want one last trip to the long trail?
Welcome back to the channel, everyone. Today I want to tackle a question I've seen thrown around the player base quite frequently as of late, and that is Tekken 8 dying? Tekken 8, as we know, got off to a rough start in Season 3 with the Back to Basics launch. When we first heard about this, we all celebrated, but then soon after the release, we found out that it was just marketing garbage. Players then proceeded to review bomb the game, and the developers quickly got it together. As Harada said on Twitter previously, that Nakatu and some of the remaining developers really worked hard and worked together to put together some great updates. And I believe they did about 3 or 4 so far, and they all have been fantastic. But the people who've kind of led those updates were gone, and there's only a few people remaining. We'll talk about that soon. But before then, you have to talk about the amazing launch and hype that was Kunitsu. This was quite honestly one of the most hyped characters to be released, going back to like Armor King or Fakaram or even earlier. I kept telling people that this character had a big following, and also a lot of it is of new players. Her returning in Season 3 and being so well balanced, even though she's powerful in some aspects, all characters in Tekken 8 are, she's not game breaking in a way that some of the slop characters were of the past. This allowed for the players to love the character, enjoy the character, and her kind of continue the balancing practices that the developers previously established with some of the Season 2 DLC. Kunimitsu's reveal was great. It brought a lot of new players into the game, it brought a lot of legacy players back to the game, and it was just a great thing overall. That was immediately followed up by one of the biggest reveals that Tekken has ever done in the modern history, and that was Uru at Combo Breaker. This reveal is something that players requested for a very long time, and it was magnificent. That character is still a long ways away, releasing way in January, but just what that character did at the time, the way that Uru dominated the timeline for over a week, the way that the game sold so many copies and placed in the top 100, top 50 for certain countries. It was fantastic. The viewership was high, everything was going well, and then tragedy struck. The developer, Nakatu, who was Harada's replacement, his right-hand man for about 20 years alongside Michael Murray, Nakatu left. He announced that he is leaving Tekken, and this was a devastating blow. For the next couple of days, the player base really scrambled around and trying to figure out who is leading the game. We were looking at developers like Nakabayashi, looking at developers like Mishima Star, Michael Murray, and Yasuda. But none of those guys were said to be the actual leader. They didn't take claim of that. The real leader of Tekken 8 is unknown. The only answer we were given is that by Harada, who's no longer working on the game, saying that it's a team effort and not one person can make the game truly. Now, even though I kind of disagree with that a little bit, because we saw how one person, that being Nakatsu, had a very big impact on the game that is Tekken 8 with all of the ideas that he put into it, I personally think that that problem may reveal itself later down the road when it comes time to build a brand new game and then someone has to put their vision on the paper. But for right now, Harada is correct in the fact that this game can kind of coast. All of the characters are exactly who they are, and all of the characters are defined and set in stone. So you only need to do upkeep on them to keep the game alive. But regardless, when that announcement was made, everyone panicked and it caused chaos for days. Ever since that moment, the player interest has been low. The viewership on Twitch, I personally noticed for a lot of content creators, it's been low. The viewership on YouTube also has been low. The engagement on X and other social media platforms also dropped. It hasn't dropped to 0, it hasn't dropped to nothing, but it is a noticeable drop, and you can kind of see a lot of people talking about it. But what's more important is tournaments. Harada said in the past that tournaments was the reason largely that Tekken 7 sold 12 million copies. So this time around in Tekken 8, a lot of emphasis has been put on that. But with all of the controversy and rule changes and problems that they've been dealing with there, combined with all of the balancing changes and gameplay changes, is currently resulting in some of the lowest tournament viewership we've seen in a very, very long time. Some of the biggest tournaments that had thousands of people watching, you tune in now and there's like 200, 300, 400. If there's a big name, if it's a big tournament, you're going to have a big viewership watching. But that was the case for every tournament, and it's not so much right now. Not only that, but overall, the players' attitudes towards the game is very, very bad. The toxicity for the game is at an all-time high. At each other's throats, all of the players are, whether it be in comment sections, live streams, and just all across social media. The player base is going at it. We're going at it over ranks, going at it over characters, going at it over balance, and everything in between. It's a lot of frustration, it's a lot of anger, and there's a lot of players who don't know what to do. Now, before we go on and talk about the next update, I do want to ask you guys to subscribe to the channel and also turn on notifications so you do not miss uploads. The channel is going to be changing gears a little bit and focusing on quality over quantity, but also less live streams and better videos. So if that sounds like something you're interested in, please stay tuned. But continuing on and talking about the next update, it's roughly a month away. And looking at the past updates, like the recent ones, they've been pretty good. The past updates have been really, really good. Actual real nerfs, actual better gameplay, and this next update with the brief summary that they gave us in the dev update on their website, it sounds like it's going to be another nerf update. If they can nail this update and put the game in a better position, it will be so great. Every single time they could deliver a good update, it just means better things for the game. More people return, more people have hope, more people are inspired, and real Tekken gets to shine through. The only thing is that yes, the update may be good, but at the end of the day, this is still Tekken 8. A lot of these characters have built-in stance pressure, built-in plus frames, and built-in mix-ups, and a lot of people just completely signed off of that altogether. So there will be a certain type of stain that can never be wiped away, but with Tekken 8, they could try to build back something so that they could carry the momentum into the future. With the next update, we're also going to get a battle pass, and even though it's not the forefront of the conversation when you're talking about what's going on, it's still a problem nonetheless. A lot of the content there is recycled from some of the base roster characters or base customization items. I wonder if this is the results of Bandai Namco cutting their workforce in 2024. As we know from that leak report that came from one of their developers, Bandai Namco is trying really hard to cut down their workforce, and a lot of people left by choice, a lot of people left by force. We don't know for sure if the lower quality battle pass is a result of that or if it's a result of another problem. Regardless, it should be addressed because players are expected to pay money for that, so their expectations of quality and originality is fair. And that is something that they have to address a little bit if they want the game to continue to get better. Now, personally, where I think the biggest difference comes in at is at the comp level. In Season 1 and in Season 2, there was rivalries everywhere. But now in Season 3, the biggest rivalries comes from the Moonsault Slayer and the trouble he gets into. No longer is it about the NA versus EU, the Pakistan-Korea, the Arslan versus Knee, steroids, EWC. All of these big moments, all of these big rivalries used to dominate the timeline. Players used to be so invested. I remember the comment section was kind of getting like at each other's throats with who's going to win between some of these players. And this is what I mean when I say that the players aren't really interested in the game, but also competition level. Some of the people who were leading the charge and paving the way for some of these rivalries to be born, they were either pushed out or they left on their own. Recently, the biggest moments in tournaments came from people like Ninja Killer, placing top 8, one of the first Americans to do it at Evo Vegas in quite some time. And then also, if you look further back at the start of Season 3, how Kazuya, a character who was largely considered to be one of the weakest in the game, won 2 tournaments back to back. And that overhauled the conversation with a lot of people now considering him to be top 5. And obviously, this is at a competitive level where the game is very different than casuals. But since then, there hasn't really even been too much to talk about, too much to interact with. Tekken needs a win very badly because they have had multiple years of controversy in every single category possible. From monetization to gameplay to tournaments to pro level to this to that. Continue moving forward with good updates, continuing moving forward with clear direction, continuing moving forward with great characters. I would also personally love to see Bandai Namco invest more into the competitive scene. I think that there's a lot of potential there for the players to go on and do great things. We can see a little bit of this with Capcom in the way that they position some of their players. I understand that Bandai Namco is a very big company and they have a lot of things to take into consideration, but Tekken is one of their primary fighting games, and the success of this game is very important, not only for Tekken, but also for other fighting games like Soul Calibur and the rest of the 3D genre. Asking you guys the question, do you think Tekken 8 is dying, or do you think that Tekken 8 is just in a low phase and will make a quick comeback? Comment down below. I would love to read your ideas, but for right now, that is it.